Installation of Gold Bond Kal-Kore Plaster Base and Gold Bond Veneer Plaster. Gold Bond Kal-Kore Plaster Base is a tapered edge gypsum plaster base with 100% recycled absorptive face paper, designed to permit rapid trowel application of gypsum plasters such as Gold Bond uni-kal and x-kalibur veneer plasters and Gold Bond kal-kote base coat plaster. Before installation, fully inspect the wall framing for any defects or issues. Fix any problems you find before continuing. Be sure to store the Kal-Kore plaster base flat on the floor. Measure the framing spacing to determine the right length of plaster base. Ensure plaster base are of maximum practical length to minimize end joints. Measuring from the floor, determine the location of all receptacles and mark the floor beneath each one. Using the measurements from earlier, mark the plaster base to be cut. With a utility knife, score along the drywall T-square deep into the core. Snap the plaster base away from the cut. If needed, run the knife along the break, cutting the back paper. For wall application, starting in an upper corner, hang the plaster base at a right angle to the wall framing. For residential installations, plaster base is typically applied horizontally or perpendicular to the wall framing. Secure the plaster base into the wood framing with bugle head drywall screws. Each screw should be spaced 12 inches apart on the framing. When driving your screws, try not to tear the face paper and slightly indent the screw head so it's barely below the paper surface. Hold the plaster base firmly in contact with the framing member as you drive fasteners. On wood framing, screws should have a minimum penetration of 5/8 of an inch. On steel framing or furring, screws should have a minimum penetration of 3/8 of an inch. Repeat the process for remaining plaster base, installing at right angles with ends in light contact. Vertical end joints should be centered over framing and staggered in each row. At receptacle locations, align the plaster base and slowly cut out the marked receptacle and fasten to the framing. Center and secure kal-mesh veneer plaster tape over all joints and interior angles with 1/4 inch or 5/16 inch staples. Place 2 staples at tape ends. Pull unstapled kal-mesh tight to ensure it will lie flat against the plaster base, and apply remaining staples. For joints, secure tape at alternate edges for the run from end to end and directly opposite one another at either end. Position staples at a maximum of 24 inches apart. For wall-to-ceiling angles, only secure along the ceiling edge. For wall-to-wall angles, secure only along one edge. There are 2 types of veneer plaster systems, 1-coat and 2-coat applications. Gold Bond uni-kal and Gold Bond x-kalibur veneer plasters are 1-coat plasters that provide the same great appearance and surface of a conventional plaster at a lower cost. 1-coat provides rapid installation which reduces overall construction time. X-kalibur provides an extended set time which gives more time for application. Gold Bond kal-kote base coat and kal-kote smoother texture finish plasters are an example of 2-coat plaster systems. You will apply an initial coat of base coat plaster, allow it to set, and then finish with either a smooth or textured finish plaster. Mix plaster in accordance with instructions on the back of the bag. Use the recommended tools needed and appropriate water to plaster ratios. Regardless of whether you're using a 1-coat or 2-coat plaster, pre-treat all joints and accessories with kal-kote base coat, uni-kal, or x-kalibur plaster. Tightly trowel over the joint in both directions to prevent voids, feathering to a maximum width of about 6 inches. Allow treated joints to set prior to general plaster application. 1-coat systems. When applying 1-coat plasters, tightly scratch in material over the wall and/or ceiling area. Double back over the area just troweled with material from the same batch, bringing a total thickness up to 3/32 inch minimum. When applying a smooth finish, remove trowel marks and other major imperfections by drawing up or laying down the surface with a light trowel pressure when plaster has stiffened. Water trowel to densify and polish the surface to the desired degree when the plaster has set. Do not over trowel or over water. Two-coat systems. In a two-coat application system, tightly scratch in base coat plaster over the wall and/or ceiling area up to 1/16 inch minimum. Do not over trowel to a slick surface. Leave surface sufficiently rough. Allow base coat plaster to set prior to application of the finish coat. Once the base coat is set, tightly scratch in finishing coat over the base coat and then double back the area just troweled with material from the same batch to create a uniform coat, not exceeding a total maximum thickness of 1/8 inch. When applying a smooth finish, remove trowel marks and other major imperfections by drawing up or laying down the surface with light trowel pressure when plaster is stiffened. Water trowel to densify and polish the surface to the desired finish. This may continue until the plaster has complete set. Do not over trowel or over water. If using a texture finish plaster, after applying the initial coat, allow the coat to stiffen and float the surface to the desired finish. Allow plaster to dry thoroughly prior to painting. For more information on Kal-Kore Plaster Base and Gold Bond Veneer Plasters, visit goldbondbuilding.com.